Good morning. Can we just check on, firstly, Anthony Gordon after he was substituted the other night? How is he? I think you said it might be a recurrence of the hip problem he's had.
Yeah, we don't think it's a serious injury, but we're going to get him scanned and we're awaiting the results.
So that sounds like he won't be available on Sunday?
Yeah, I think there's every chance he might miss out on Sunday, but we give him every opportunity to be fit.
And what about William Osula, because he was withdrawn from the squad the other night, and it sounded like when you spoke after the game that maybe he could be due a period on the sidelines as well while you get the ankle right?
Yeah, it's something that he's been feeling for a little bit, but he's been functional, he's been able to train and play. But it was getting to the stage where it was, I think, affecting him a little bit more latterly, and we had a scan, we were waiting the scan results, sort of tied in with the game, and the scan just told us to pull back a little bit, so he'll have a period of rest. But again, it's not a serious injury. We expect him to be weeks, not any longer.
You've answered lots of questions recently about Yoane, Wissa, and we haven't seen him yet in a matchday squad. What is the latest with him and his move towards full fitness?
Yeah, Yoane's working well. He's on the grass, he's building his fitness. I think the knee's feeling good, no problems with that. It's more a case of looking at his fitness, sharpness, all the things that he's going to need to put together. He's in a good place injury-wise now to really kick on and push his body, but we're going to need to give him time to get fit and robust enough, and in the position where he can give his best version of himself for the team. So how long that takes is slightly unclear, but yeah, I'm sure it'll be worth the wait.
There's another international break, obviously, after this weekend. That'll be the third this season already. A lot of fans don't like the regular interruptions to the domestic programme. How do you feel about it? Perhaps because it's been so hectic for you, you could maybe welcome the break.
Yeah, I think we've probably got a different viewpoint this season more than any other, because our schedule's been relentless, and it's almost, you look at these breaks as a time just to breathe, really, for the players. Not so much for the international players, of course, because their work doesn't stop, but I think for everybody else it's a chance just to settle down and then look at the next block of games, which is, we said this period's been tough, but the next block's even harder for us, because November, December are very, very busy, and January, incredibly busy months for us. So yeah, I think generally if we were playing one game a week, it would feel very stop-start, I think. So I can sort of have sympathy with everybody else.
And Brentford last season, you probably don't need reminding how disappointing it was, the result and the performance, particularly after what happened at West Ham. When you go back to Brentford, you'll be determined to avoid a repeat of anything you saw there almost 12 months ago. Yeah,
it was a tough day. It was a tough game. I think Brentford, I know we've had some good results there. I think it's always a difficult place to go. I think certainly with their style of play this year, I think they've been very efficient, very effective at what they do. I mean, it's going to be a tough examination of our mentality and our ability to defend. So yeah, I see this game as a great opportunity rather than anything else to showcase that we can deliver away from home. I think that's how we have to look at it. We know there's pressure on us. We know our away form's not been good enough, but we're determined to try and put that right.
Thanks, Reza. Keith?
Eddie, the England squad announced, I think, within the next hour. Obviously, don't know whether Anthony will be in it or not. How do you feel regarding that and his injury, and basically when he's back? Is there a chance he could be involved for England?
Relaxed about that, Keith. To be honest, it'll all be done with England's blessing in terms of whether he's fit or not fit. We'll work together with them to try and find the right solution for Anthony.
And on Yoane, you said there that you hope or think it's going to be worth the wait. Has the wait been a frustration for you?
Injuries are part and parcel of football, especially with the schedule that we've had. The only frustration with this injury is the fact that he wasn't. Well, we haven't seen him. He wasn't with us when he did it. So that's been difficult because the transfer was very much with the sight of trying to help us in the here and now. No fault of Yoane's. It's just part and parcel of the game that we're in, especially with international players when they travel away. But we need him. desperately want to see him fit. But I think the big thing from this injury is, as I said earlier, when he comes back, that he's ready to hit the ground running and be at his very best levels. In
midweek, at his press conference, at Dan Burns' press conference ahead of the game, he said it'll be a frustration for him if the team come out all guns blazing and win well, like you did against that Athletic club during the week. Can you see what he means by that he was frustrated that the team came out and won, given the performance against West Ham on the Sunday? But then he countered that by saying, against Brentford on Sunday, he said, those are the games where we earn our money.
Yeah, I think everyone shares that frustration. I don't think it's just the players, it's the coaching staff, it's everybody, because we know what we're capable of, we know what we can deliver. West Ham was a long way short of that, and we take responsibility for that. But we needed to make sure that we did respond. I think that there was a danger on Wednesday that, a lot of talk about home form being very good and our away form not so good. That then your home form can be affected. But I think it was a really strong, disciplined performance. We did what we needed to do. The only way we can answer our critics away from home is to deliver. And that's why I said I see this game as an opportunity to do that. And I know the players will be motivated to showcase that we can.
A lot of supporters happy during the week to see Lewis Hall back, and he looked fit and he looked sharp. Is he close to a return to the starting lineup?
Well, he's closer, definitely. I think it was a really good cameo from Lou. I think we have to remember he's had very, very limited training time, so I have to be careful with him. But of course, he's very much in my thoughts because of the quality of player that he is. But he's had a difficult period in the last few months. He obviously had a serious injury. The hamstring that he suffered this time wasn't serious, but it was enough to keep him out of action for a period of time. So he's such an important player. We need him fit for the long term.
And just finally for me, Sandro spoke after the match the other night, the first time he's really spoken about his contractual situation, that extension that you guys agreed a year or so ago. He said he didn't want to make any promises that he'll be here in 10 years' time, but he's taking it year by year. It was real honesty from him. Are you comfortable with that?
I'm always comfortable with honesty. None of us can make any massive statements about the future because life is so unpredictable, and football certainly is at the sharp end of that. It's so unpredictable. So I think Sandro's been very, very honest. He's happy, and I think that's the key thing. When he said he's enjoying his football, and when I see him every day, I see a player that is happy and feels fulfilled, happy in the team that he's in, happy with his teammates, happy with the environment. He loves it here in Newcastle. So our challenge is to keep providing him that environment, and of course, his job is to keep playing well, and he's certainly been impressive this season.
Thank you. Andy?
Come on, Eddie. This Brentford fixture was a fixture last year. I remember you said that it kind of acted as a catalyst for Newcastle to build momentum after it. Do you feel like the West Ham result could also act as a bit of a catalyst going forward?
Well, I think that's how we have to try and look at that game. There's no point looking at that game any other way, because then it becomes just a very disappointing memory. But you can actually look at those games as positives in the future if you respond and learn from the game and take all the lessons that we learnt from it and take it forward. That's what we did after the Brentford game, and it was, as I say, I look back at that game as a positive now because of what happened afterwards, and it rejuvenated our season, kicked us into gear. And we need to look at that West Ham defeat in exactly the same way. But that's not a given. That comes down really to the feeling and harnessing the feeling that we got from the game and using it as a fuel to motivate us in training, motivate our detail, and do everything we can now in our preparation for the future games to make sure we're at our best.
On another note entirely, it's been described as bend it like Burns. Some fans are calling it to be in the Puskas Awards contention. Dan was even obviously recreating it on the sideline when he was subbed. What's your reaction a few days on to that header from Dan Burn on the week?
Yeah, it gets better. It gets better when I see it, I think. And I had the privilege of being right behind it, so I could see almost when he headed it, I thought, that's in. It's special moments for Dan. I mean, I think he appreciates those things more than anybody in the squad because of his association with the club. But the headers that he's delivered, I don't quite know where he stores them because he doesn't do that on a regular basis. But when he does, they're certainly worth the wait.
Just finally, I know you fielded a lot of questions about Yoane Wissa, but away from kind of his injury recovery, obviously he's a new player to the club, being injured, frustrating time for him. How pleased have you been, though, with how clearly he's settled within the squad? He seems to have built up friendships within the squad, which I imagine is quite difficult for a player to do when they're joining a new club anyway, regardless of whether they're injured for a long period.
Well, it is. I mean, I've got a lot of sympathy with Yoane because I've been in a very similar position. I joined Portsmouth and played very minimal minutes and then got injured straight away. And I never felt totally integrated into the squad because when you're injured, you're not purposely excluded, but you're in a different place. And I spent 2 years trying to get fit. Hopefully, Yoane will have a lot shorter time than that. But I think he's done really well, actually, because you can see his natural personalities come out. He has built some really strong friendships already. And I think you can see he's an experienced player, and he's got that experience side of his characters come out as well, because he's not fazed by anything. He's joining in. And as I say, when he's fit and firing, I think he'll provide a lot for the squad.
Thanks, Andy. Nisha?
Morning, Eddie. First of all, I just wanted to check, has the illness in the camp, has that now subsided completely? Are they all healthy?
Looks like it's gone on my throat. No, I think we're okay. Yeah, I think I don't think there's any, as far as I know, I haven't seen everybody today, but so far so good.
How do you think the team is adapting to Nick Voltemade? As we've said before, very different player to Alexander Isak, drops deep a lot because he wants the ball at his feet. How do you think the team is adapting to that?
Yeah, I think we're in the process of doing that. I don't think we're functioning at our best level. That's not dependent on Nick. Nick's one player in the machine. I still think we're finding our best way to use him. We're finding our best form individually throughout the team. So I'm very happy with Nick. I'm very happy with his application. I'm very happy with his ability to carry out instructions. I'm very happy with, of course, the goals that he scored. So I think he individually has done very well. I think us as a team, we've still got to mould and find our best way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Damien?
Morning, Eddie. Just going back to Sandro, in terms of keeping him happy, is part of that him continuing to believe that he can fulfil his ambitions as a Newcastle player?
I don't think it could be clear. I don't think it's our job to necessarily keep any player happy in terms of where we finish in the league. The players themselves, me included, have to find a way to be successful with the team that we have. But I think off the pitch and in the environment, that's where we have to provide the environment that all the players enjoy and they want to be part of. And with a team spirit, that's an incredible thing to be around. So I hope you sort of see the difference between the two things. The players themselves have to find, again, together with me and all the coaching staff, we have to find a way to be successful. But I think that clear difference, I think, is really important.
Thank you. We've got Chris, Lee and then Luke, please.
Morning, Eddie. War Flags confirmed the other day the reason why that the tunes before the game have been changed, that local heroes not being played, and races have been flipped, and they said that was partly to do with the players and the coaching staff and that wanting to hear fans. Can you just explain the sort of thinking there and the sort of how that came about, really?
I can. I can give you what I know. I'm not directly involved in those discussions, especially with the schedule that we have. I've been putting all my focus on the team, but I know there has been discussions to the pre-match sort of environment and making sure that it's the best it can be, and we're constantly evaluating that to try and make sure it's the best experience, not just for the supporters but for the players. So I think there was a few tweaks made. Obviously I'm not out there at that moment, so I'm not really the best person to judge whether that's a success or not. I know there's been a few tweaks. Hopefully everyone's enjoying the changes.
Thank you. Lee?
Eddie, how do you sort of explain the narrative this season? You've obviously won actually 7 games from the last 10, but there's this sort of continuing narrative about not being able to transfer from competitions. Just I wondered how you saw that internally and how you're approaching it.
Yeah. If you'd have said to me you'll win 7 of the next 10, I'd be delighted at that, because I think that's a good return. Now sat here in this position, I'm looking at the Premier League table probably like everybody else is, and that's, I think, the narrative and where it's coming from. and you go, and I'm uncomfortable with that. We've got to be trying to climb that table as quickly as possible. So I sort of share that to a degree. But I also, I'm on the inside, so I'm living every day and every moment. I also have an understanding of where the players are at. I have an understanding of our position in a sense that everything that's happened to lead us to this point. I know the players are giving everything. So I think we just need to support the guys when they're on the pitch, give them the total backing, and I know we have the quality and, most importantly, the professionalism to come back stronger.
Thank you. Luke?
Talking of narratives, there's a sort of debate at the moment that the Champions League is actually easier than the Premier League. How do you respond to that?
Well, the Premier League is, for me, in my opinion, the best league in the world. And it's the best league in the world because it's the most competitive. There's no game that in my time as a Premier League manager that has been ever taken for granted. You know, that the quality of teams is so strong and the competition is so strong. But I'd also then flip that and say the Champions League is the elite club competition in world football. It's where everyone wants to be. I think we've navigated some really difficult games in the Champions League so far really well. The Barcelona game, for me, that could have been another win for us. It was very tight and unfortunately went against us. So I think both competitions are very, very strong, and that's why this season is such a challenge for us compared to other seasons, because there is no break for us. There's no training time for us. It's relentless. Now, that's not an effort for sympathy from anyone. It's just we're having to navigate that while trying to keep the players realising that every game's so important and there can be no dip for any competition.
Kieran?
Obviously, you can show ambition in the transfer market, but after last summer, how important is it to kind of keep your best players as best you can, I guess?
Yeah, I think, of course, we want to try and keep our best players. The only way we're going to do that, as I said, all the things that I said earlier about what we deliver behind the scenes. But in a sense, the players have to show that they're these world-class players on a consistent basis as well. There's a lot of pressure on them too to make sure they're showcasing that, rather than the talk of being players leaving. I don't think that's healthy for us. So we're on a journey together, and this season has yet to be clear what our destination is, and that's where we're still in the early stages. We've still got a chance for this to be a very, very special season for us.
Thanks, Kieran. Dom Skur?
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Just spoke about no Osula, Yoane, Wissa, potentially Anthony Gordon for this weekend as well. How will that impact Nick Voldemort and how you manage him moving forward?
I don't think it would change anything. We don't have a lot of support for him, and that's why I think he's done very, very well, because the focus has been purely really on him, and he's had to take that in his stride, and he's done that really well. Big credit to him for that. Big credit to him for how he's performed so far. But I think he's got broad shoulders. I think he can take that, and it's up to us to protect him and look after him whenever we can. Try to withdraw him a couple of times to keep him fresh and keep his energy. Because he's obviously a big lad. He's got big limbs to move, and we need to make sure that he can take the pitch in a good way.
Thanks, Dom. Any others? Sean?
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Obviously, we were talking before about Dan Burns' header. He played really well the other night, but Lewis Hall come back as well. And I know you said earlier, he'd been managing his situation and sort of his recovery from injury. Obviously, when he's sort of fully fit and he's the sort of natural, ready-made left-back, where do you see Dan's best position? And if it is back at centre-half, how tough is that situation going to be in terms of the competition between him, Sven, Malik and Fabian?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one in the respect that Dan can play various positions. He's played left back for me since he's been moved there. I think he's played really well, and our results have been very good with him in that position. So I think Dan's always shown he's got the ability to play both. Competition for places is still there, and it's still there throughout the team. We need to make sure that competition's being used as a positive for us within the squad. And it's continuing to be used to push the players for more.
Thank you. Charlie?
Morning, Eddie. Jacob Murphy aside, your other three wingers are yet to register a goal or assist in the Premier League this season. Has that been a concern for you? And is that possibly a reason why Nick Voldemort has sometimes looked a little bit isolated up front?
Yeah, of course it's a concern for us because we want all our attacking players to be flowing and in a really confident, good place. Our wingers historically have been very, very good in terms of numbers. So it's a slight surprise. Well, it's a big surprise that those stats are what they are. But I back them. I back all of them. I think they're very, very good players. I don't see an issue with any side of the quality of the player. Or, but I think there's a whole host of reasons. And I think whenever you look at a pure stat, you can jump to a conclusion as to why. But I think you've got to put a bit of context around it. We've done that. We need to now help and support those players. Get back to doing what they do best. And I think if you ask them all, they'd be saying creating, assisting and scoring. So that's what we need to do.